Happy Wednesday, beautiful people. Welcome back to another episode of Podcast Pocket Full of Sunshine. I hope you all have had an amazing week. I hope you have stayed warm this week. Where I'm at in Virginia, this morning it was -7 degrees. Ugh, that is like bone-chilling cold for me, okay? I am not okay if it's not 70, and this weather is not for me. I'm over it. I'm so ready for spring. I can't wait. I saw somebody post on Facebook today, like there's 39 days or something until it sunsets at 7 p.m. Like, yes, I am marking it on the calendar. If you're new to the podcast, thank you for joining us today. I started this podcast almost a year ago in honor of my late daughter, Hayden Smallwood. She lost her life to a DV relationship. Can't really go into details about that yet because we're still going through trial and things like that. But eventually I will tell her story and be able to put more information out there about, what we've been through so far and some things that she endured. I myself am a domestic violence survivor. I spent 9 years in a very extremely DV relationship, and then had a marriage for with my ex-husband for 11 years, and it was DV as well, on both parts, not just his. Like I played my own part in it as well, because that's all I knew. That's what I grew up with. I grew up in a DV home, so I've experienced from a child's perspective, from a victim perspective, from an aggressor perspective. So I have all the perspectives, and it's not something that I'm proud of, but something that I use to help people feel like they're not alone, feel like there is hope and there is a way to break away from it and to become free from it. So that's why I started this podcast, to be this little community of love and hope and support for all the trauma that we experience in life, not just DV and things like that. Before I took a little break over the holidays, I was pretty consistently doing a awareness theme for each month, and I haven't done that in a while, but I was really looking back into that over the last week, and January happens to be Stalking Awareness Month. So that's why I'm wearing yellow today. That's the color for raising awareness for stalking. And stalking, people don't realize, but is a huge part of teen dating violence, a huge part of domestic violence. They pretty much go hand in hand with one another. And of course, then you have the situations of stalking that are not related to a prior relationship or things like that, just of an obsession or something, some other issues that someone has going on. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. And there's certain things that are actually stalking that you really wouldn't think about or consider as stalking until you really start to dive into the awareness cause and all the things that it stands for, what it means, all the different ways. Oh, goodness. I'm sorry. I'm always on here yawning, y'all. This is the only time I usually ever sit down, is when I'm on here sitting down recording episodes, because I'm going nonstop. I have all these kids. I have a million different sports that they do. I have work. I have all the things. And I just never get a chance to sit down. So when I do, I always have my little hot tea and I'm like relaxed. And then next thing you know, I'm yawning. And y'all are probably on here like, this girl is so tired. She's on here trying to talk to us and she's about to fall asleep. Promise you I'm not. I don't sleep well. Anyway, that's a story for another day. PTSD at its finest, right? So anyway, again, I'm wearing my yellow today for Stalking Awareness Month, which is the Stalking Awareness Day is actually January 18th. But the whole month should be where we're raising awareness and talking about it. We're talking to our kids. We're talking to our teenagers. We're building healthy habits from the time that they're small kids, so that they don't grow up to think that this behavior is acceptable, when in reality it's very much not okay. Not okay at all. So when we think about stalking, I feel like most of the time we think about, somebody that becomes obsessed with us through social media, through acquaintance, through whatever the situation may be. And they start to follow us. They start to pay attention to our movements. They show up in places where we wouldn't expect them to be because they're watching our movements and all this and that. So a lot of times when we think about stalking, we think that it's a random stranger. But most of the time it's not. It's right in our face. It's somebody that we know, somebody that we've been in a relationship with, or something like that. And we overlook it because of those factors, because we've been in a relationship with this person, because we have known them forever, because we have kids together. We don't really look at it as stalking, but it truly, by definition, is. And the simple little things, like, for instance, if you have a breakup with someone as a teenager, I can't tell you how many times I went through this, right? So you break up with somebody, you're not going to talk to them anymore. Of course, when I was a kid, we had pagers, okay? So the next thing you know, you're getting 25 pages in a row, like, call me, I'm sorry, 911, all this stuff. And they won't stop. That is stalking. You'll get 1,500 phone calls after you've had a fight with a boyfriend or a girlfriend, or whatever the situation is. So you'll have an argument, you'll have a fight, you'll hang up on each other, and then they continue to call and call and call and call and call until you answer. Stalking. We don't really think about it like that, but it actually is. If you break up with, if your relationship ends, this really happened to me a lot as a teenager. Your relationship ends, you go out with some friends. The next thing you know, there's your ex popping up because they found out somehow you were going to be there. You didn't just come here because you miss me and you love me. You just stalked me out. Literally, like, hunted me down and found me. Not okay. And we got to teach our kids this. Like, I remember as a kid too, I heard parents all the time say that little boys will chase girls around on the playground because they like them, or they're mean to them because they like them. And why are we teaching our little kids this? Why are we saying this to our daughters? Oh, he just hits you because he likes you. He's just mean to you because he likes you. That's just the boy's way of flirting with you. No, it is absolutely not. Somebody is teaching that kid, that little boy, that it's okay to continue to chase someone if they've told you to stop, to continue to disregard someone's boundaries, even if it is another little girl that's in your class, even if you're in kindergarten. That's where we need to start teaching our kids these healthy boundaries and these healthy behaviors. Because by laughing it off and overlooking it when they're small, they're going to grow up to be teenagers. And then when they're teenagers and their girlfriend asks them to stop, leave me alone, don't do that, all they know is to keep chasing her, keep on, because as kids, it was funny. Everybody laughed it off because, oh, he must really love her if he's chasing after her like that. No. Because then that leads to more toxic behavior and somebody ends up getting seriously hurt. Like my daughter did. And it's not okay. That leaves a hole in a family, in a community that is beyond repair. Nothing that I do or say will ever fix it. And I do all the things in Hayden's honor. I set up scholarships in her name. We're donating gifts to the hospital next week for her birthday because she would have wanted to do that, and she's done that as a child. I've volunteered at the shelters, and we're doing helping the homeless bags, like care bags for homeless in our community. I'm just doing so much in her honor. I'm doing this podcast to help moms like me and girls like her. But it's never enough. And it makes you think back, like, to when they're kids and we tell them that, oh, they're just doing that because they like you. No. We have to stop teaching our little babies that they can disregard boundaries, that their voices don't matter. Our girls, that their voices don't matter, and our boys. Because it's not just one-sided when they're kids. My twins come home all the time talking about, like, she wouldn't leave me alone today, or he wouldn't leave me alone today, or this one was chasing me, that one. And so it starts as kids, and it's not just one-sided. And even as teenagers and adults, it's not just one-sided either, because it's not always the boys that are the aggressors and that are, constantly calling. I've been that crazy person that has a breakup or has a fight and calls until they answer. And now I look back at that and I'm like, what the hell was wrong with me? Like, why didn't someone tell me, like, that's not okay? And now I have these strong boundaries, and I am very protective over my boundaries. And when those are crossed, I will walk away in a heartbeat and not look back. And I'm okay with that because I know that I'm respecting myself and I'm not allowing anyone to treat me less than what I deserve, right? So all of those years that I was in these relationships where, we would break up and we would have these fights and, like showing up wherever and start like calling, all this stuff. I never once ever thought of that as stalking. Toxic, yes, absolutely. But those are forms of stalking. And we don't realize it, but 80% by statistic, 80% of stalking victims are between 18 and 24 years old. But is that really accurate? Because are they really looking at these younger teen relationships, like these high schoolers, these, even for some is in middle school. So what do we do as parents to fix that? What do we do as parents to help our kids understand what is healthy in a relationship and what is not? We have to have the uncomfortable conversations. And I know I have uncomfortable conversations with my teenager all the time. And most of the time she just thinks I'm crazy and I'm just talking all this stuff. But the more that I've done research on these awareness topics through, for my podcast and for you all, the more I have really analyzed my life and my relationships and understood what was actually going on. And it wasn't just toxic. It's really specific traumas and specific behaviors that we need to raise awareness on. So that is something that I'm really going to do a lot more lately, or a lot more in the future, not lately. I really want to be able to like have support and talk sessions. I've had a lot of people reach out to me over the last few weeks about support groups. So my daughter Jocelyn and I have really been talking about this a lot, and I think we are going to try to put together some local support groups because we don't really have that in our community. I know we have AA and NA and things like that, but we don't really have any trauma-based support groups around here. So I think that's something that we need here in our area. So I've been doing some note taking, some research, things like that. So stay tuned for that. If you would be interested in, maybe I'll do a poll or something on my Facebook page, on the podcast page. Okay, so I'm not on TikTok now. TikTok went down earlier this week, as you guys know. And so I thought it was going to be a permanent thing. So I deleted my app. I can't get it back on there. So now my TikTok page is down. So I will not be posting on TikTok. It's just going to be on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcast. So that's where you'll be able to stream all of my episodes now, until I can figure out how to get TikTok back up, if I do. But maybe I'll do a poll or something on Facebook about support groups and if there would be any interest, if we'd have enough interest. I just don't know. But it's been weighing on me really heavily, and I feel like it's something that we really need to do. So I think that's coming down the pike. And I would love to have somebody come on the show and just talk with me about your trauma, about a specific experience, about something you've overcome in your life. It doesn't even have to be trauma related. If it's just something that you want to raise awareness on, feel free to reach out to me and send me a message, podcastpocketfulofsunshine@gmail.com. You can reach out to me on Facebook Messenger. I pretty much check those two daily. I'd love to have you on the show. I've also had a couple listeners who write into me anonymously because they don't feel comfortable coming on here and people knowing who they are. And I'm happy to read your stories anonymously as well. Those really help people. I got a lot of feedback, a lot of great feedback on those over the last year. And your voice matters. Your stories matter. They really do help people because, yeah, I get on here every week and I share my stories and I share my awareness themes and this and that. But hearing somebody else's story might be a little bit different than mine. It might be listened to. It might be heard differently than what my stories and my experiences are. And just helps our little podcast community know that there's more than just me out here that's hurting, more than just me that has trauma, more than just myself that wants to reach you and let you know that you're not alone. So that would be amazing. I haven't had somebody on the show in quite a while now, so I would love that. But we really got to work on, back to the stalking thing, we really got to work on strong boundaries and paying attention to those red flags. If you have told someone that it's over and that's it, hold yourself accountable, right? Because how are they going to contact you if you block them on everything? Although, don't get me wrong, I have had people where I've even had to block on like Cash App and email and things like that because they continue to just try anything to message me or to get in touch with me. And again, that is stalking. That is a form of stalking and desperation, but by definition, stalking. Sometimes we get so wrapped up in our feelings that we just don't think about that, and we feel like we're losing control, or we feel like we'll do anything to get this person to hear us. And the whole time, like, you've had a million opportunities to listen, a million opportunities to speak, and now you want to wait to do that when I've already put up my boundary and said, that's it, that's enough, I'm done? No, I am done. Leave me alone. Let me be. That is it. So hold your boundaries close, hold them high, and If you feel like you are being stalked through social, it can be tons of different ways, right? Especially now that we have social medias and things, people get stalked on social media all the time. If you break up with somebody and they are having their friends stalk your page and report back to them, or they're creating new pages just to be able to come look and see what you're doing and what you're up to and da da da. All of that is stalking, all of it. So just block, 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 block. That's what we're doing in 2025. Boundaries and blocking. Because there is no excuse for that. It's one, it's toxic. Two, it's stalking. Three, it's stressful as hell. And that's something we don't need. Because we put things in the past for a reason. We're not putting them on a shelf and saving them till later. Not doing that anymore. Setting these boundaries, moving on, and building healthy relationships. And we're using our experiences to teach our kids what is healthy and what is not. So that when they're our age, they're not sitting here talking about trauma from past relationships. They're sitting here talking about what their mom taught them through her trauma and what she went through. We're breaking those cycles, we're breaking those chains, and we're taking this curse, or what do I want to call it? It's like a pattern. We're breaking these patterns that have been in our families for years and years and years and years and years. Right? You always hear people say it ran into my family until it ran into me. Absolutely. Absolutely it did. Because it stops right here with me. I used to say that all the time before Hayden was killed, that domestic violence and the abuse in my family stopped with me. It ended with me. Boy, was I wrong. Because I wasn't where I am now in my healing journey, and Hayden ended up in the same position that I was in a DV relationship, and she's the one that lost her life. And I still struggle with that a little bit. Like, why did it have to be her? It wasn't supposed to be her, you know? It was supposed to be me. It was supposed to end with me. But instead it ended with her. And so now I feel like it's my job even more to protect my kids, to protect my family, to protect my podcast listeners, like everybody from this why wasn't it, or why was it them mindset, right? So if we're breaking these cycles and we are healing now, and we're teaching our kids and we're showing them that we can do it, and that we have boundaries, and that we're not going to allow someone to treat us some type of way just because they're unhealed and they have trauma and they need therapy. Like, our kids are learning healthy boundaries, healthy relationship practices, healthy communication styles, all of that with us. They're learning all of that from us so that they're not repeating these same behaviors, and it does end with us and not with them. So this month, wear your yellow for the rest of the month. Next week on Thursday is Hayden's birthday. She should have been 20 years old next week. So we'll be taking a whole bunch of toys and things like that to Inova Fairfax Hospital, because that's the last place she was when she was being treated the night that she was killed. And we're going to donate them in her honor. I know she would be so happy that we're doing that, because she loved the thought of giving back to kids that were sick, or kids in need, or anything like that, people in need in general. She had such a loving, giving heart, And so often we took that for granted, but now we're just trying to give back because that's who Hayden was. That's what Hayden did. So I love you guys, and I will see you next week. Next week on Wednesday, I will post an episode on Wednesday. Probably going to post a little short on Thursday. Just so, just because it's Hayden's birthday and things like that. On Thursday, wear your red and black because those are our colors for Hayden. So please wear them on Thursday. Remember her, say her name, and just pray for justice. I love you guys, and I will talk to you next week. Bye.